folks, behind me is the 2019 Mazda 3 all-wheel drive. That's right, it has all-wheel drive. It has a new suspension, it has a new body, it has a new interior, and coming up, I'm going to take it in the snow and on the road in Lake Tahoe. What is new with the 2019 Mazda 3?
Everything.
Okay, go for it.
So the only thing that isn't brand new, the engine and transmission mechanicals are carried over from last year. The 2.5 liter SKYX engine and 6-speed. All the software and the engine management system running it are completely new. And then of course the whole platform is new.
SKYX, is it coming?
We're working on it. The SKYX thing, it's a global engine, of course, and it's a big, unique challenge in each market to certify it because it's such a unique new technology. A lot of the certification processes are built around the experience of the regulatory agency and what they think is going to work, and nobody's got any experience with this. So we've kind of got like all hands on deck, focusing on whichever markets need it the most. And I'll tell you something about North America: our gas is cheap. And so we're not the ones that need it first. So that's sort of the background of why we keep hedging about when it's coming, because it's going other places first.
You hearing that, guys? You're probably not hearing much, and the reason why is because there's not a lot to hear. It's a very smooth engine, and the exhaust note's not bad. It's just not really that pronounced. I am playing with the manual controls in sport mode. By the way, it's tossable. It doesn't mind going around a corner pretty damn quick. It'll rev up to a little over 6,000 RPM before it'll cut power, but it won't shift for you if you're in manual mode. It will let you go, which I really like. So right now, we're in a really twisty bit. I want to stay in gear. I'm in second gear, and it's letting me do that. No problem. I like that. That is nice.
Our all-wheel drive systems have been very popular on our SUVs, and we've been really advancing the art of our all-wheel drive systems to make them really efficient, so there's almost no fuel economy penalty, and making them really intelligent about when and how they use the rear torque to maximize the handling potential and stability of the car. And so it's getting to where it really, I think, will pay off for anybody driving the car in inclement weather or even on dry pavement. So the new iActive all-wheel drive is sort of an evolution of the system we've had in our SUVs up till now. That's using a new algorithm that's actually running a vehicle dynamics model in software, where it's looking at the yaw sensors and the G sensors and the pitch of the car, and predicting exactly how much vertical load is on each tire, and then it's distributing torque to the tires that can use that torque to make the car handle better. So it's not just a traction assist system to get you unstuck or get you, through snow or something. It's really there to expand the handling potential of the car.
That's a pretty good looking car, right? They put a lot of time and trouble into the design of this vehicle. Now, it's more than just Kodo design. It's handcrafting. According to Mazda, they use more clay than any other automaker. They're not just using AutoCAD programs. They're not just using a computer. They're using the soul. They're using their hands to sculpt and bend and create this. Honestly speaking, I think they did a really good job. Mazda is on a holy tear when it comes to design. I think their cars are some of the best looking ones out there, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that they use so much clay. How does the torque get allocated in general? I mean, is there an algorithm that thinks about it and goes, you know what, I think I'm going to have all the torque in the center split 50-50?
So inside the PCM, the powertrain control module that runs the engine, now we used to have a bunch of different modules that were trying to control the car at the same time. We've combined them all into one. So the system that's running the engine, running the transmission, is also running this model to predict where it should send the torque and is distributing the torque. And then there's also our G-vectoring control system that's doing little tricks where it's pitching the car forward when you turn in to load the front tires, and as you turn out, it's dragging a brake on the outside to kind of help straighten you back out. All those systems are running in the same computer, And there are certain places where actually they'll disagree with each other, and we've got it set up so they'll prioritize. So for example, as you turn in, the all-wheel drive system would want to send torque to the rear at a time when it would actually make the car not turn in quite as well, and the GVC system will recognize that, hold the all-wheel drive system off, let the GVC do its thing, and then when you get in the middle of the corner, it hands it back to the all-wheel drive and lets it put torque to the rear. It's massively complicated. As I think you're getting the idea.
A couple things you guys need to know right off the bat. This is now a much more sophisticated ride. The smoothness that this car imparts is absolutely otherworldly. It is not what I was expecting. It's not what any of the journalists I've talked to expected. Even though they changed the rear suspension around to this torsion beam, even though it's all-wheel drive, I know. Even though they did that, they've managed to make a very controlled, very roll-resistant car that yet still does roll a little bit. But when it does, you can feel its limit very quickly, and it's very smooth. Transitions are smooth, steering is still quite good. The steering weight is ideal. So these are all really good things. Not a whole lot is normal about having a torsion beam rear suspension when you have a rear axle that's active. How does that work?
So in terms of having all-wheel drive and a torsion beam, it's not unprecedented, because actually if you look at the Mazda CX-3, we did the same thing on that car. So the cross-car beam that connects the two trailing arms, the torsion beam is two trailing arms connected by a beam that can twist. That's the torsion part of the torsion beam. And we simply bend that thing up and over the drive shaft. So we've got two different torsion beams, one for the two-wheel drive car that's straight across, and the all-wheel drive car goes up and over, and we've designed them so they have the same torsional stiffness, so they behave the same way. There's a lot of unexpected things about how and why we put a torsion beam in this car. We want the steering response to be really natural and direct and linear. And we don't want a lot of the sort of passive steering tricks that are typically in a multi-link suspension. So we previously were doing all kinds of things to stabilize the car through the suspension geometry, where you put a side load on the tire, and it would be a compliance steer where there's a passive toe in from the side load on the tire. Which seemed like a good idea at the time. The more we studied sort of the interaction between the driver and the car, the more we realized that as you're turning in, just all this sort of happens over a fraction of a second, but as you start to turn in and the car passively takes away some of that steering, and then you have to react and add some more steering to get what you want. We want to take that little fraction of a second out and just make it really direct. You turn in and it goes where you want, and it makes it very natural. And so this suspension is really honest in that it just stays pointed straight ahead. That's actually not something that all torsion beams do. In fact, we had to make this one a lot stiffer in that sort of side load lateral toe control than our old one. It's about 78% stiffer in terms of the mechanical structure of the metal part of the torsion beam. By stiffening up the beam, it doesn't toe out now, and now we don't have to let the bushings move as much to tow it back in, and so everything can be just rigid and simple and straight, and it's a much sort of more honest, direct kind of steering feel with that suspension.
You know, normally I prefer the way a hatchback looks, and this one is a really good looking car. They've done some different things with the way the back is shaped. Notice there are no major humps, there's no major arch. It's a very different type of design, which makes it look distinctive. However, one thing about Mazda normally is I prefer the way their hatchbacks look over their sedans. However, take a look at the sedan and tell me what you think. I think it's sexy.
So yeah, the platform is the whole body, chassis, structure, everything that the car is built on. This is our next generation platform that's really designed around some of the concepts that we've been sort of developing with the previous generation, where we're trying to really build the car around human motion and the way people move to make the car feel more natural and intuitive. And we're really studying how people balance to understand how the car should move, which is not, you know, immediately intuitive that that's what we should be doing. But if you think about what somebody in the car is doing every time you're driving, you're balancing against all these G-forces that the car is creating. And if you really understand in depth how people work, you can make the car move in a way that feels more natural to people.
The interior is incredibly comfortable. The seats are so much more comfortable than they used to be, and part of that has to do with the position of the seating, because you no longer have to move as close to things in order to reach them. everything has been moved forward so you can see it easier, and lifted a little bit so you can see it better. And at the same time, we're able to reach the controls and everything is easy to use by comparison. Is it better? Yes. Couple numbers for you guys. Basically, if you're curious whether or not this is a heavy car, well, it kind of is. It weighs over 3,000 pounds, and that's if you get the manual transmission, which is only available in the top-of-the-line front-wheel drive hatchback. I know, crazy, right? Now, let's say you want the hatchback instead of the sedan. Well, hatchbacks usually weigh more, and it does, but only by a few pounds. And what if you want all-wheel drive instead of front-wheel drive? Well, that's going to cost you under 200 pounds. Ground clearance is the same whether you get the front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive model. It's about 5.5 inches, which is not a lot. Bouncing through the 2019 Mazda 3 pricing, everything starts at $21,000, and that's for the sedan, front-wheel drive with the 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, if you want a manual transmission, it has to be the hatchback, and it has to be front-wheel drive, and that starts at $27,500. The starting price for the Mazda 3 with all-wheel drive is $24,000, and that's the sedan, and then it goes to $25,000 for the hatchback. And finally, if you get the top-of-the-line model hatchback, that's the Mazda 3 with the premium package, all-wheel drive with a 6-speed automatic transmission, prices go up to $28,900. But if you like a premium small car that's front-wheel drive that has a very nice manual transmission, man, you can do a lot worse. Well, actually, I don't think you can do much better. I love the attention to detail, this interior. I wish I had more time with this damn car. Ugh. All right, Dave, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it here. We always appreciate a good interview with you.
All right.